Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hey everybody, it's good to see you. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've been here, and I know I popped in on you on Emmy Sunday, so I'm going to keep it quick, fast, and to the point. But welcome back to another episode of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I'm going to get into all things Telluride, TIFF. We're going to talk a little bit about some movies. I got some interviews for y'all. We're going to talk about Rebel Ridge. I have the cast of the Chicken Sisters. I have Halle Berry and the cast of Never Let Go. I have Penelope Ann Miller from the movie Reagan, who we've been trying to get things together for a minute. I also have Keegan Michael Key from Transformers 1. Telling you, it's a jam-packed show. And then next week, I'll have some interviews, a review of Lee and the cast of Res Ball. But let me get into what happened the last few weeks. But before I do that, let me just say rest in peace to Mr. James Earl Jones. He was a mighty presence in the voiceover, television, film, and theater worlds, and he will sorely be missed. Rest in peace, my brother. Also, I wanted to let you know that I have an episode of, where'd it go? There it is. I have an episode up of the Stream Team. It's on Beyond TV. That's myself, Andrew, and Patrick. And we are the Stream Team. Every once in a while, I join them. Patrick and Andrew do it. Andrew Freund and Patrick Stinson do it a little more often, but I join them every once in a while. And one of the shows I'm talking about is one of the casts that I have for an interview today, and it is the cast of the Chicken Sisters. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. But while I was gone, I did the Stream Team, like I said, shot an episode of that. And then I went to the Telluride Film Festival, which is held in Telluride, Colorado. It is a good time, honey. It is a real good time. And pictured in that picture with me is Cortland Kelly. Her and I were there as part of Team RogerEbert.com, along with Robert Daniels, who is pictured along with us in this photo. And we saw movies, we did reviews, we did interviews. One of the interviews I did was with the cast of The Piano Lesson. Pictured in this photo is Danielle Deadweiler. On the end to your left, in the middle is Malcolm Washington, the director, and right next to him is John David Washington, his brother. The Piano Lesson also was gracious enough to invite me to a wonderful lunch, and we had a lot of good breaking of bread and whatnot. And then I went off to TIFF, which is one of my favorite festivals as well. But I don't know, Telluride is taking up a close second. And at TIFF, I participated in a program where I was a mentor. So it was called the Media Inclusion Initiative. And so I was a part of that. These were the young ladies that I mentored, and we're being photobombed there by Samuel Leggett, who is a member of the African American Film Critics Association. This is a roundtable photo that we did after we interviewed the filmmaker in the middle. She had a film about, I think, the vagabond, vagabond in Lagos. I'll tell you what the title is. And then I ran into one of my Canadian friends, Rad. He's always a good time. But I love him. I think the very first time I went to TIFF, I met him. So we kind of make a habit of taking a photo every time. This is me speaking during the Inclusion Initiative Welcome Committee. And then I was walking down the street minding my business when Global News Toronto asked me about TIFF. And so you can see that the hair that I have is not black, it's purple. So there's that. And this is what TIFF looks like when you're just walking up and down the street in the hustle and bustle of it all. Also, while I was at TIFF, I went to a brunch that was hosted by the studio that is producing The Substance, which won an award today. Today is the last day of TIFF, so they're showing all of the films that won awards or that were very popular during the festival. That festival runs for 10 days from September 5th through today. And during that time, I had brunch with Demi Moore and Cora Lee on the left there, who is the director. Demi stars in a film called The Substance. I've talked about The Substance here before. It's crazy as hell, but you're going to love it. And then, of course, to kick off my birthday week, I had a birthday brunch hosted by my two good girlfriends, Octavia Spencer and Yvette Nicole Brown. They graciously took me to a little pre-birthday brunch, and I really love them for that. So that is what I've been up to. Before I get into who's watching, let's talk about what has been winning over at the TIFF. The People's Choice Documentary Award went to The Tragically Hip No Dress Rehearsal. The Best Canadian Discovery Award went to Universal Language director Matthew Rankin. The Platform Award went to They Will Be Dust. The Best Canadian Feature Film Award went to Shepherds, directed by Sophie Deraspe. The People's Choice Award went to The Life of Chuck, directed by Mike Flanagan. Of course, my crazy film that I love, the People's Choice Midnight Madness Award went to The Substance, and I actually saw it again at Midnight Madness. This is what the poster looks like, and if that gives you any idea how crazy that film is, trust me, you're going to want to see it. The NetPack Award went to The Last of the Sea Women, directed by Sue Kim. The Best Canadian Discovery Award, I think I already said that about Universal Language. The Shortcuts Award, Best Canadian Short Film, went to Are You Scared to Be Yourself Because You Think You Might Fail, directed by Beck Bacot. And the Faprezi Award went to Mother Mother, directed by Kanan Warsam. So that's it for all of the things that I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. So as you can see, between the interviews and the festivals, I have been hella busy. And that is why you have not seen me. Let's check the comments, shall we? Hey, Sav Productions, how you doing? Good to see you. And of course, Brandon is in here. He says Transformer 1 was amazing. Keegan Michael Key was fantastic as B-127, aka Bumblebee. I'm glad you think so, because I have an interview with him just about that. So stay tuned. About Transfer One, what a fantastic movie. Yes. And you said you also can't wait to see Wild Robot in 2 weeks that premiered at TIFF. I actually saw it at the premiere at TIFF. So I'll talk about that in a minute. So thank you guys for popping in and joining me. Much appreciated. So let's get into the first one that I want to talk about. The first film I want to talk about, well, not film, but I've talked about Reagan before and about this film, and it basically deals with it from a Russian point of view, how the Russians felt about Reagan, and focuses a little bit on his relationship with Nancy Reagan, who in this film is played by Penelope Ann Miller, and her husband, who plays Donald Reagan, is played by Dennis Quaid. But her and I sat down and talked about the film and about their relationship, Nancy and Ronald Reagan's relationship, their love affair, and all that. So take a look and a listen to this interview with Penelope Ann Miller, who plays Reagans are such prolific figures in American history. If you lived during that time, we all remember like all the things that were said about them collectively and individually. But in the process of you researching to prepare for the role of playing Nancy Reagan, what was the most surprising thing you discovered? Because we know so much about her already.
Yeah. I felt like she really felt misunderstood, actually. And I think she had a much softer side than people saw. I think it was sort of a protective shield, because she was so fiercely protective of her husband. And she was more vulnerable than, and even insecure at times, actually, as well. But there was also a playful, fun side to her, too. I didn't realize the extent of how in love those two were. That love story to me was like, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he wrote her a love note or a love poem every day. I mean, who does that? You know, she has the book, I Love You, Ronnie, with all of the notes and poems. But Yeah, they were very, very devoted. I mean, we all knew they were a power couple and they were always by each other's side, but it was truly quite the partnership and support system. But yeah, I guess it was just a lot of her just feeling, yeah, sort of maligned a bit, and she was kind of vilified. She was called the Dragon Lady, and he
Oh,
was
I remember.
I know, and we all do, right? I'm an 80s girl too, and grew up then. And just, even criticized for her fashion, and yet then Jacqueline Kennedy, wore incredible fashion and no one maligned her. And but interestingly enough, they did with Mary Todd Lincoln, uh, which I also played. So, but yeah, I mean, even like when she decorated the White House, she was criticized, but the place was in a shambles and shabby, and she felt it was the people's home. It wasn't even their home, so she wanted to be able to present it proudly. And she didn't use government taxes. She actually had it privately funded. Same with the whole China issue where she got the red China, but there was all these missing sets. Like she had no complete China set. She said, I'm having dignitaries and presidents come into the White House and we don't even have a full set of China, but that was also privately funded. And I don't know, things like that. But she was a force to be reckoned with. She was definitely a tough lady in a lot of ways. She was very strong, but she was really also the woman behind the man, not as a puppet master, but I think more she was willing to take the back seat to let him shine, if you know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying. You mentioned something that stuck out to me. You mentioned playing Mary Todd Lincoln. What is it which is crazy that you're playing Mary Todd Lincoln over here and Nancy Reagan over here, like from two different centuries, two different types of women, two different types of times? What is it that draws you to or inspires you to get into portraying these historical figures in our history?
Well, I personally love history. I like to know more about our past. There's so much that I didn't know when I researched Mary Todd Lincoln, about her life and losing 3 of her boys, and she had melancholy, she was depressed, and one son completely disowned her. And I mean, not that it's funny. It's actually tragic.
It's kind of tragically funny.
It was tragic. And she was into seances because I think that was her way to feel like she was connecting with her loved ones that she lost. I don't know. I find it fascinating. And even the Reagan era, even though we grew up in it and we know so much, there's so much we don't know, which is what I like about this movie, is that it talks about his past and his alcoholic father. I didn't know that happened.
I didn't know that either. I was like, what?
and then just all the stuff that we didn't know behind the scenes, how they met, Nancy and Ronnie, and their love story evolve, and becoming the power couple and leading him into the, being governor of California to the White House. And then, of course, being a Screen Actors Guild president and being a Democrat for 40 years and before he switched parties. But there's just a lot about that I think is interesting to see and learn about, but also hopefully be entertained at the same time. He was also charming and funny. So there was a lot of things about him, I think, whether you liked him or not, I feel like there's a lot that we can learn from, whether you believed in the Reagans or you didn't believe. It's a part of our culture. So I find that interesting. I like to play very different, diverse characters. I mean, I played Jeffrey Dahmer's mother, as you mentioned, Mary Todd Lincoln, and playing these real life characters is also more challenging. I played Mary Kay Letourneau and Joyce Mitchell and another Joyce. But I kind of, it's challenging and scary, but I feel like that's kind of what why I like to do what I do, because I like to challenge myself and I like to do things that people wouldn't expect me to do. And I think it hopefully gives me longevity in this business.
Well, clearly it has. And it stretches you as an artist, because if you keep doing the same types of characters over and over and over again, then your artistry doesn't stretch. You don't grow as an artist. You kind of stay in that safe, stagnant sort of space.
Yeah, which always scares me about doing a TV series where I'm playing the same character. Not that I wouldn't take a job there. I'm just saying. But I do like to mix it up. It's fun for me, and the amount of research I did to play Nancy Reagan was more than I've ever done. It was probably the most challenging role I've ever played. I think because she's so iconic and so famous, I knew I had a big shoes, little shoes to fill. And I knew there'd be the comparisons. So I really wanted to capture her essence and her spirit. And I felt I sort of owed it to her legacy, flaws and all, not perfect, but just capturing her and honoring who she was as a living human being in the world. So I feel like I owed it to her and her family and people that knew her. So, but it does stretch me a lot.
I love that. I want to close it out with this one quote that he had. I think it was from a speech or something that he said in the movie where he says, freedom is only one generation from extinction. Living in the times that we are living in right now, how does that resonate for you?
Wow.
Especially on the other side of this film.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we are all, I think, in panic mode right now. And I think that we are feeling that our freedoms are being jeopardized. It's an interesting that these themes still carrying on to today. I just feel like we need to be paying a lot of attention and doing our own research, really, really being careful about what choices we're making today, because we can make a difference, and we're living in a time that needs change, and we need to come together. We need unity for sure, and we need to be able to talk to each other. And the divisiveness is also scary, but I think we need to come together as a country.
Absolutely. Penelope Ann Miller, this was 2 years worth waiting for sure, for sure, for sure. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. And it's always a delight to see you. And thank you. And we'll do this again. And our movie's opening this weekend. So hopefully you'll check it out. Reagan.
Reagan, that's the name of it. Just Reagan.
That's the name of it. Yeah.
So the movie opened 2 weeks ago. When we did this interview, it was the week of, but I was so crazed with trying to get out of here to go to Telluride and TIFF that I didn't have time to edit it. But it is in theaters now. It is simply titled Reagan. It stars Dennis Quaid and Penelope Ann Miller as Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, respectively. Please do yourselves a favor and check it out. So, as I said, the Emmys are happening in real time, and one of the winners is Billy Crudup from The Morning Show. I love his character on that show. I'm so happy that he won. I feel like he should have won like eons ago, but he just won, and I'll keep you apprised of other winners as I'm doing this broadcast. Okay, so Rebel Ridge. Rebel Ridge is streaming on Netflix right now. It is directed by Jeremy Saulnier, and it stars Aaron Pierre, who's pictured there in the middle, Don Johnson, who's pictured on your right, and Anna Sophia Robb, who's pictured way back there in the back. And it deals with a former Marine who confronts corruption in a small town when local law enforcement unjustly seizes the bag of cash he needs to post his cousin's bail. This is what I have to say about this film. First of all, it's very well done. We've seen these types of films a million times, but this one's done very, very well because it kind of doesn't leave any stone unturned, and it's kind of in your face with the subject matter. It's a huge statement on how Black men in particular are treated by law enforcement, especially in a sleepy local town where the corruption is just rampant, and it maligns Black men in the eyes of law enforcement. And the corruption that these law enforcement people do, it makes a statement on how they make money off of innocent people's backs. Now, this boy is simply trying to he has taken money out of his business that he has worked hard to build up as a former Marine. And I'm partial to the movie because my daddy is a retired Marine. So the fact that Aaron Pierre is playing a Marine was like, okay, I got you. But the fact that his money is being taken, his hard-earned money is being taken, and they won't give it back, kind of makes my blood boil a little bit, because all he was trying to do was take the cash that they said that they need to bail his cousin out of jail. And some things happen with his cousin that I don't want to tell you because I want you to watch the film, that are very unjust and horrible. But what I will say is that Aaron Pierre is ridiculously talented. I mean, anybody who can go from the Underground Railroad to Mufasa to this is exquisitely talented. That's all I'm going to say. And his co-star Sophia is expertly talented as well. Don Johnson is despicable in this movie. You really kind of want to hate him, and you forget that he was somebody that you loved on Miami Vice. I'm just saying, he's got him and Kevin Bacon and some of these other ones from back in the day are taking on these little evil roles. I'm like, I'm gonna need y'all. I mean, I love that y'all are stretching your artistry, but ooh, child, I felt some kind of way about Don Johnson. But again, it's called Rebel Ridge, and it is streaming on Netflix right now, starring Aaron Pierre. Got it? Good. Now, the Chicken Sisters. I talked about the Chicken Sisters on an episode of the Stream Team where we talk about things you might want to watch. And the Chicken Sisters is streaming on Hallmark, the Hallmark Plus channel. I always have a hard time saying that. Hallmark Plus channel is streaming right now, starring Leah Thompson, from left to right on your screen: Leah Thompson, Skylar Fisk, Genevieve Angelson, and Wendy Malick. And it is based on a book, a best-selling book by KJ Del Antonia. The Chicken Sisters is actually inspired by the real rivalry between Chicken Annie's and Chicken Mary's in Southeast Kansas. So when I watched the show, it reminds me so much of Heart of Dixie. I co-starred in Heart of Dixie for about 4 or 5 years. Love that show. And the Chicken Sisters reminds me very much of it. So without further ado, here's an interview with the cast of the Chicken Sisters. Hi, you guys.
You have a better background than any other journalist we've spoken to. So
it looks like a club, a dance club. Is that where you are?
Where are you coming to us from?
My house.
Amazing.
I'm coming to you from the comfort of my home, honey.
I know, and her lipstick matches her wallpaper.
You look great.
Hey, Wendy, y'all are hilarious to me. All right, so let me just say, I was on a show called Heart of Dixie for like 4 or 5 years. And when I watched the Chicken Sisters, I felt like I had been transported back into Bluebell, Alabama. I got my entire life.
That's such a compliment. That show is great.
I loved Heart of Dixie, and I love Lila Gerstein, who created it. But with the Chicken Sisters, I know that when you're doing a show that takes place in the South, there are 5,000 Southern sayings that come being thrown at you at any given time. So I'm just wondering what you all's favorite Southern saying is coming out on the other side of this. And if y'all say "bless my heart," I'm gonna knock you out.
No. My favorite one was, "Oh, is it raining or are you pissing on my leg again?"
I love that one. That's a good one.
My favorite was this one day that we were shooting. Leah had the line, "You guys are acting like a couple of dang ding dongs," but she couldn't get it right. I don't think she'd find me saying it. So take over again. She would say, "You're acting like a couple of ding dang dongs." We were dying.
Actually, people in the South do say stuff like that. They kind of mess stuff up all the time. They really do.
Kiss my ass and call me Susie.
Oh, mine was definitely "don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining."
Oh man. Well, I grew up with my mother says still a lot of these Southern sayings. Some of them were actually on the show. I'm like, oh, that's familiar. But one of them that she said that's actually not on the show, maybe next season, hopefully. It's just that you what was the one? Now I forgot it. I'll come up with another one. You attract more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
I wanted to ask you guys, the theme for me, walking away from the little bit that I saw, is that you have to find a way to stop living in the past to be able to acknowledge your present in order to move on to the future. Mm-hmm. How have either one of you been able to do that in your professional and or your personal lives coming out on the other side of shooting the show?
Wow, that's such a good takeaway.
It was a good time.
That is really what it all boils down to. Yeah, I think that's like something that we all kind of like are constant works in progress with, right? Just like being in the present and thinking about, what's to come and letting go of. I know that's something that I feel like I'm constantly, being challenged by.
I think you're just saying, don't go back to the future, right?
I kind of love you for that. I kind of love you for that.
I think what's interesting about this show is it kind of feels retro. It kind of feels like a little bit in another time. But what I love is that it really is about community, and it's about forgiving each other. It's about that we all have more in common than we have differences in terms of how we want to be safe and loved and take care of each other. And I like that because it's simple. It's a simple story, really, about community, found family and real family, and trying to get along. And I think we all need to learn how to get along a little better. And that's one of the things I really loved about the show.
Oh, yes. Say that more for the people in the back row. That right there. I want to ask you one last thing. Skylar, your character is always trying to be good. Just good for herself, good for her husband, good for her mother-in-law, good for her mom, just good. Do you ever get tired of just being good?
Oh, yeah. And so does Amanda. It's hard, we're all just trying to do the best we can with, what we got.
With your character, she has a little bit of an issue, holding on to things. And I was just curious if either one of you have had something that held so much sentimentality that you just could not part with it to the point where there's like a whole room or a whole closet dedicated to it and it means nothing to nobody but you.
Our significant others. Just throw them in a closet, can't get rid of them.
Those old boyfriends that were locked in the basement. No.
That is hilarious.
I'm not like that at all. I do not care about stuff. I've never cared about stuff. My mom said that she would, put all this thought into my presents when I was a kid, and all I wanted to do was hang out with people. And I think that's pretty true for me.
So you're not a material girl.
I say that in my designer dress that I love so much. I like clothes, but I don't care about stuff. I don't.
I think if I hoard anything, it's photographs. I have wall-to-wall photographs of the people I love in my office, and I keep thinking I really need to thin this out because you can't even see them anymore because there's so many of them. But I don't know who to banish from my little world in there.
Now you can't banish anybody because they're gonna come in there and they're gonna see that they're gone.
Oh,
they're
shit,
like,
I
"What
didn't
happened to my
Go get
picture?"
the frame.
They're gonna feel some kind of way. You can't do that.
No.
You do that, Wendy?
Feel some kind of way is good.
Feel some kind of way.
Is really good.
Now, this show also deals with how you have to stop living in the past in order to embrace the present to make room for the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did it take for either one of you at any point in your life or career to stop living in the past to embrace the present and make way for your future?
That's a great
Therapy.
question.
I mean, like a lot of therapy. I think it's probably the only way to answer that. I don't know. I think that, I think you said it pretty well, which is, it's funny. I think you actually kind of have to do the opposite, which is that you have to really go back to your past and put your arms around your past and stop avoiding your past and like feel the feelings that weren't safe to feel then. And that it's actually by stopping running and turning around and looking at it that is the thing that is really liberating.
I love that.
And I think for me, one of the most salient moments in my life and career, I was with Gloria Steinem, and we were going.
You just dropped this. Do you want to? It's this name that she just dropped on the ground. I thought she.
I was with Planned Parenthood, and we were in Florida. We were going door to door and hosting events, and this was when Al Gore was running, and she gave me the best piece of advice I've ever had. We had to give speeches that night to raise money, and she gave the most powerful speech. It was just stunning. About when a very sympathetic doctor had agreed to give her an abortion when she was on her way to study women in India and knew that she didn't want to get married, she didn't want to have kids, she knew what her future what her track was going to be. And on the way home that night, I said, God, when I grow up, I'd love to be just like you. And she said, don't ever say that. Because we need all the voices at the table, and you have a unique voice, and your job is just to hone what you have and your strengths and use them for good. And I thought that's so much better than trying to be like somebody else, than trying to duplicate what somebody else's path was. You have to find your own and just try to work to be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Wow. Well, that was impactful and impressive, Wendy Malick. I can't ask another question after that.
Okay, bye-bye.
You can do it. You can do it. Because actually, I'm out of time too. So, but I want to thank y'all. It was really a pleasure to talk to you.
You're the best.
You're just as lovely and funny and fresh and vibrant during this interview that I had with you as you are on the show, and I enjoyed it very much. And I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Again, you guys, it is called The Chicken Sisters, and it is streaming right now on Paramount Plus. All right, I have another winner for you. I have two more winners for you. So at the Primetime Emmys, which is going on right now, Jeremy Allen White and Liza Colon-Zayas won for The Bear. And just a side note, I did not realize, and I don't know why I didn't realize, that Liza Colon-Zayas is married to David Zayas, who was on The Closer with Kira Sedgwick. I am so excited right now. Anyway, so we have three winners right now: Billy Crudup for The Morning Show, Liza Colon-Zayas, and Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. And The Chicken Sisters is streaming on Hallmark Plus right now. Okay. All right. So I talked to the cast of Emily in Paris. Now, y'all know a couple of years ago, I went to Paris. The studio sent me over to Paris, and I interviewed the cast in real time, and we all got dressed up and went to this fancy theater in Paris, and I wanted to move to Paris and thought I was going to move to Paris and all that, but that hasn't happened yet, but that don't mean it won't. But I did talk to them. I love that you think that was refreshing. Thank you. I know it was fun, right? So yeah. Thank you, Sav. I appreciate you commenting. I did want to tell you guys, so I did say I was at the Telluride and TIFF film festivals, and I want you, if you didn't, I did a review for the Nickel Boys for the rap, so that is the link if you want to go check that one out. I also did a review for the rap for the piano lesson, which I talked about earlier, so there is the link to that if you want to screenshot it and go there. And then also, I did another review for the rap about Saturday Night, which is a film coming up that is directed by Jason Reitman about the very first broadcast of Saturday Night Live. And then, of course, I did a whole roundup of my whole trip for RogerEbert.com about Memories of a Lifetime at my time at Telluride. So those are all the links of all the stuff. And hopefully you guys will have an opportunity to go check them out. All right. Okay. So what's next? Oh, I was talking about Emily in Paris. So Emily in Paris has a 4th season. And baby, Emily ain't in Paris no more. She's in Rome. She's in Rome, Italy, and she got some shenanigans going on. But I talked to the cast, and I had a couple of surprises that threw me for a loop. So take a look and listen to this interview with the entire cast of Emily in Paris on Netflix. The last time I saw you, girl, we were in Paris.
Yes, we were. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. So there was something that was brought up for me in watching this whole season, and I can't remember what character said it, but they said sometimes you have to forget about everyone else and do what makes you happy.
Yeah, Ashley, Mindy says that to me.
So what makes Emily happy and what brings Lily joy?
What brings me joy is my husband, our dog, spending time in Copenhagen, my friends, just feeling like being yourself is enough and laughing and smiling. And for Emily, I honestly do believe her work brings her joy. Her friends bring her joy. And her funny coworkers bring her joy. I think she's somebody who's very relationship driven in terms of her friendships and obviously romantic as well, but just spending time with people. Quality time brings her joy.
Being in nature and quiet, no noise pollution, no light pollution, and the time to get bored and listen to your thoughts and reclaim your body space, mind, and soul. And what makes Gabriel happy is a very simple man, I guess. Good food, good friends, and romantic love.
For Camille,
It's a beer, a pint.
paint. For Camille,
Sometimes you walk in
myself,
Paris and you see her sitting at a cafe. She's like, "Brother, pint," and I'm like, "It's 2 p.m." She's like, "Yeah." Yeah.
no, I love having fun with my friends. I'm always working, so I can get the time off and just enjoying like simple things, playing video games, watching a movie with my friends, just do a little balade, in Paris.
Plays a lot of video games.
A lot of video games.
She's
that's
a World
true.
of Warcraft nerd.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, okay.
And for Camille, the character, I guess what will make her happy is finally succeed to have a healthy relationship at some point, and perhaps become like the best art dealer.
I love the conservative look that they gave you this season. It's a little more, it makes Emily feel like she's grown up a little bit. I just wanted to, with the hair off the face and the black and the white and the red.
Yeah.
This is in honor of you.
I love it.
How did you feel about changing up the look for this season? Because I know that's always something that you enjoy.
There's something to be said in a season 1 when you're getting to know a character. You have to get to know them by what they say, but also by what they wear and what they look like on screen. And so finding out about her personality through the mixture of colors and prints and textures, and it was like you had to understand that she was this big, bold energy all the time. But the more we've gotten to know her throughout the years and the seasons, I think we understand now more of who Emily is by what she's articulating, and you can kind of pare down the look a little bit more, and the more confident she's getting in her workspace and in her country, in Paris, in the city, she can be a bit more tailored and monochromatic and not afraid of black, and leaning more into the Parisian flair, but still staying Emily, but being bold in a different way. Like less about mixing things and more about the color choice or wearing pants as opposed to a dress. There's a different way of being bold.
Where are you going, Lucas?
Sorry. I thought you wanted me to.
No, stay here. I'll ask all of you this. So what is it that makes you all so very protective of Emily? Because each and every one of you have a moment this season where you're protective of her.
Haven't you seen her little face?
I think, do you know what? Even though she sometimes makes mistakes and is annoying to some other characters and stuff like that, there is a sense of innocence in her, and I think everyone is touched by that.
Yeah, earnestness.
Yeah.
She's just sexy. Always protect sexiness.
Okay, and
Also-
then I have to ask this because we're dealing with Paris and we're dealing with Rome. Are French just Italians in a bad mood? Is that really true?
I think there's people in a bad mood in every country, and there's people in a good mood in every country.
Yeah,
Yes, Gary, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, but there is more people bad mood in France. Yes, it's true.
That's the poor
we
French
have to
people.
say that.
I didn't say
I
that.
would say we're gluten intolerant Italian.
Yeah, but one thing about French people, it's difficult for them to love you, but when they do,
Then they,
it's,
truly do.
it's forever and it's real.
Yes, it's really. Camille loves me.
Get away from her.
Wow, you just scored the most chaotic interview.
You know what? But I'm handling it, and it's all good. I love y'all. I love that y'all came and busted in this interview.
We're in the
I love
same
that we
city.
kind of just flying by the seat of our pants. It's all good. So while I have you all here, tell me, what do you think the fans of Emily in Paris are really going to be thrilled about with season 4?
It is
Rome,
in the title is Rome.
Rome.
Like,
Obviously.
I think the beautiful thing that the series does is take us to the actual locations. And I feel like a tourist myself. I've never been to Rome before the series.
Same.
Yeah, you too?
Oh yeah, this is your first
So,
time here.
yeah.
That's wild.
I just think that I just hope that the audience is going to be as excited as I am to be in Rome. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Samuel and Bruno, before we go, I got 45 seconds. Do you think next season we're going to see you guys get some love interest, like long-lasting love interest? Because we've seen everybody else fall in love. I need to see y'all fall in love, too.
Mindy needs a passport. She's going to green card marriage.
Well, I feel like we need to hope for next season, first of all.
It's mostly you, because he has a beautiful relationship with the funniest actress
Well,
on the show.
do you know what I want to say about Julian? Let's watch part 2.
True, yeah, very true.
Let's watch part 2. I'm not going to say more than that.
He falls in love with a plate of carbonara.
I do that every day, actually.
Yeah, he does that every day, sorry.
Okay, y'all are
Thank
hilarious.
you.
On that note, I'm going to say I love every single one of you. I told Lucas and Camille, you have a fan for life, and that is true. You have a fan for life in me. Thank you so much for giving me your time, Camille and Lucas. Thank you for popping in and making this so much more fun.
Thank
You're
you.
amazing, guys.
Love you guys. Bye.
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 When I tell you that in my whole career has never in my life happened to me. I had literally just finished interviewing Lucas and Camille, and then they came in to the room where Bruno and Ashley. I was just like, what? And Julian, I'm like, what is happening right now? So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed all of them. If you have not tuned into Emily in Paris season 4 on Netflix, do yourselves a favor. It is a lot of fun and one of my favorite guilty pleasures. But I don't feel bad about it. I enjoy watching it. All right, so Transformers 1. This is a Paramount Pictures joint. It hit theaters on the 14th, a couple of days ago. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Brian Tyree Henry, Keegan Michael Key, Chris Hemsworth, Steve Buscemi, John Hamm, Lawrence Fishburne, and the list goes on and on and on. But before I get to that, we've got a couple of more Emmy winners to announce. So Elizabeth Debicki picked up an Emmy for The Crown, and Jean Smart picked up one for Hacks. I'm actually surprised by that category, but we'll get into that another time. But yeah, so Transformers 1, this is the 8th film in this franchise to hit theaters, the 8th film, and it's considered a prequel to the Bumblebee film, which happened in 2018. So basically what this one is brothers in arms, Orion Pax and D16 become sworn enemies of Optimus Prime and Megatron, and shenanigans ensue. It's one of the most exquisitely done animated pictures I've seen. I was not a fan of the Transformer cartoon. I didn't watch a whole lot of the Transformer movies, but I really wanted to see this one because I did kind of dig Bumblebee. So I knew it was a prequel to Bumblebee, and I kind of wanted to check it out for that reason. You would love to see Emily in Venice. I can't say nothing. I'm sworn to secrecy. Anywho, back to the show. So Transformers 1. So with Transformers 1, I kind of dug it. I love the fact that we got into these characters before we knew who they were, what their names were, what their journeys were, and all of that. Scarlett Johansson is made for an animated character. That texture to her voice, that scruffiness that she has to her voice is just, is right on time. And Keegan Michael Key as Bumblebee is everything. And you'll see what I have to say about that when we do the interview. But what I will say about this film is that it is a story about choices, and what the consequences of those choices can hold for you, whether they're right, wrong, or indifferent. Choices are everything. And I also love the message of, at one point, one of the characters says, what defines a transformer is not the cog in his chest, but the sparkle in their potential. And everybody has potential to be whatever you want to be as great as you want to be in any lane that you want to be, to pursue any type of life that you want. Those two things is what I really love about Transformers 1, and it is the heart of the film. So having said that, I'll let Keegan and myself tell you more about it right now.
You can call me B, or Badassatron. It's a nickname some of the guys gave me. I don't know. I didn't give it to myself or anything. Actually, it's pronounced Badassatron. You like that, right? Badass.
I'm going to need you to talk less.
Hey, Keegan.
Hi, Carla. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am very well.
Of course you are, because you're playing Bumblebee.
That's right. I guess it get better than that.
It really doesn't. Listen, you voiced a numerous amount of characters in animation. I've heard and seen them all. But it was different jumping into this world of Transformers. And Josh describes Bumblebee as being kind of Charlie Chaplin-esque.
Yes.
But I describe him as being more like Joe Pesci from Lethal Weapon.
I like that. I'll take it.
How do you describe him?
I think that I actually describe him as kind of the robot version of me. Because I'm very, I speak at a really fast pace. I'm very talkative. Sometimes I overshare. I might have even just overshared by saying I overshare. But so I think I'm very much, it's almost like me playing Bumblebee in this movie is typecasting.
That is hilarious. And I know you're a fan of the franchise,
Yes.
right? From being a kid. So as a fan of the franchise, from being a child to an adult, even today, tapping into that inner child to bring this character to life, do you think that there is more of you in Bumblebee or less of you in Bumblebee? Because you said that just now, you said is probably typecasting.
Oh, I think it's definitely more of me. It's definitely more. I mean, it's like a heightened version of me. I'm a pretty, I'm a kind of an excitable guy, but I think I played up even a little bit more as Bumblebee. And also the situation, if you've seen the movie, the situation he finds himself when he first meets Orion and Dee. It's like, oh my God, they're actual people that I can talk to. There's somebody in my world again that I can speak to. So he's really, really super excited. But I think it's more me. It's more me. And also it's me bringing all of that childlike excitement to the experience, because I really was a huge fan of the show when I was a teenager.
I love that. There's a line where someone says, what defines a Transformer is not the cog in his chest, but the sparkle in their potential. What would you say defines the sparkle in your potential?
Gosh, that's a really good question. I think that it's funny because potential is such an interesting kind of ethereal term, because it's something that's not yet fulfilled, right?
Exactly.
And so I guess the sparkle would be, and maybe this is for everybody, would be hope. Is that as long as you maintain hope, you have the opportunity to be the best version of yourself or become the best version of yourself. But you have to have hope. If you don't have any hope, you won't pursue it. You won't try,
I love that. Look at you talking about hope.
But that's a very good question. That's a really lovely question. That's something worth probing and thinking about.
I appreciate you saying that. I really do. And I appreciate you taking time for me today. I know that you're busy and you're working and you're booked and busy, but I really do appreciate the fact that you took some time out for me. I really, really do. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Thanks for joining us. This was lovely.
Oh, my pleasure. See you next time.
Have a great time. Have a great time. Have a great day. Have a great
too.
time
Bye.
too.
I get it. It's jet lag. Bye.
Bye.
Now, what he didn't know is that one of the very first celebrities I ever interviewed, it was a roundtable situation, and Keegan Michael Key was one of the first people, really famous people that I interviewed. And I don't even remember the name of the film, but I remember we were in some bar somewhere and they had us do a roundtable in a bar. That was a really bad idea, but I remember that vividly. And I remember he was just as lovely then as he was today. So thank you, Keegan Michael Key. Check out Transformers 1. It is a Paramount Pictures deep, and it is in theaters right now. Let me just recap what I have talked about before we get into my bucket list interview. Check out Reagan, which stars Dennis Quaid and Penelope Ann Miller. Is in theaters right now. Rebel Ridge is streaming on Netflix, starring Aaron Pierre, as is Emily in Paris season 4. The Chicken Sisters is streaming on Hallmark Plus, with Leah Thompson and Wendy Malick heading that cast. The Substance, I believe, might be in theaters right now or is coming, but I really want y'all to check that out because that is crazy as hell. And Transformers 1 is in theaters right now to be seen. and it is a Paramount Pictures piece. Now, let me get into this doll right here, Miss Halle Berry. I have been talking, I don't know how many times I've been talking about Halle Berry on the show, but I talk about Halle Berry on the show all the time. I think Halle Berry is one of the most underrated actors of our time, period. I think people don't really clue into just how extremely talented and business savvy she is. I mean, this is the same person who did Jungle Fever, who did Monsters Ball, who was in the Flintstones, okay? And did a whole bunch of other, did The Wedding. She produced The Wedding. She played Dorothy Dench. Child, I can go on because I know all of Halle Berry stuff. But now, Halle Berry, she's been in a couple of thrillers, you know, but this is more of a thriller than a horror, but there's a couple of little horrific moments. But this film is called Never Let Go. It's produced by Halle's production company, Halle Holly. It's one of the first projects she has produced under that umbrella. And it stars, her two little pint-sized co-stars are Anthony B. Jenkins, who's also in The Deliverance, and I spoke about that here as well, and Percy Daggs the Fourth. It's directed by Alexandra Aja, and it deals with an unspeakable evil that takes over the world. The only protection for a mother, played by Halle, and her two twin sons is their house and their strong bond. Needing to stay connected at all times, even tethering themselves with ropes, they must cling to one another and never let go. However, when one of the boys questions if evil is real, that ties that bind them together are severed, triggered, and they trigger a terrifying fight for survival. Let me tell you something about this movie right here. I jumped and I hollered and I felt some kind of way about a couple of scenes in that movie, not in a bad way, but just in a shocking kind of way. It was a great film, but what you're really going to enjoy about this film is that this film is held down by these two little boys, Anthony and Percy, as the twin boys of Halle Berry. They hold down this film. They really, really do. And like I tell them in this interview, I haven't seen a child do that since like Bugsy Malone, Paper Moon, a couple of other Stand By Me. I haven't seen a child do that in a movie since I've seen those films. And FYI, but not really, we talking about two little black kids holding down a movie. They do the daggum thing. But I'm not going to talk anymore about it. I'm going to let them tell you about it because, you know, that's how I roll. So take a look and a listen to my bucket list interview with the all-time GOAT, Halle Berry, and her pint-sized co-stars, Anthony B. Jenkins. I thought it was Jenkins, but I won't say it. Anthony B. Jenkins and Percy Daggs the Fourth. Now let me just tell you, horror films kind of freak me out a little bit, but I know they don't freak you out because you were part of the Splat Pack.
It's not true. I'm so scared of horror movies. I know I'm part of it, and I did my share of blood and gory stuff, which is not Never Let Go. Never Let Go, it's not that gory and bloody, but I, as an audience member, I'm still so scared of horror movies, and I think that's why I'm keep making them. It's because I'm kind of addicted to that fear of that kind of like a feeling when I'm in a big room, you know, to share that experience where the temperature is raising and you feel that everyone is on the edge of their seats. It's nothing comparable.
Listen, I was on the edge of my seat and totally engaged with this particular film. And I also want to know from you, when was the moment for you with this film where you felt like you could never let go or you could let go?
It was quite early on, but I want to say it's the first time I met with Ali, and we talk about the script, and there were many ways of interpreting that script. There was many ways to go. It was early in the process. There was still some development to be done. But I realized on that moment that she had the exact same vision than I had about the characters, that she really didn't want to compromise. She didn't want to make Mama like someone that's like very likable or loving. She wanted to embrace all the layers to create like a very complex character that would be in the same time the most loving and protecting character for the kids from the evil lurking outside, but also the most scary part of the movie as well.
And how did you do anything with the kids to keep them engaged with being scared? Because actors that are kids that are pretending to be scared, that can be a little tricky sometimes.
Before every take, they were using that blessing of the house that they say many times in the movie, and they were saying it all together right before the take, just to get back into that never let go world.
I love that blessing of the house. I felt like it was the thing that kind of brought them together but almost tore them apart.
It is, yeah.
Do you think that there was a moment for the entire cast where they kind of felt that evil kind of presence in that house? Because that house was creepy.
The house was creepy, but it was not supposed to be, because in that world where the evil is waiting for them outside, as long as you stay in the house, as long as you stay connected to the house with that rope, as long as you don't let go of the rope, you're safe, you're good. But there is something else happening. There's something else happening within the family, within like the dynamic between the three of them. And that something is the questioning about what Mama is saying. You know, is she saying the truth? It's like she's lying to us. And all that kind of thing is kind of corrupting the house. And I remember that very important moment where they talk around the table and there is a big confrontation. And I felt in the moment when they start really like screaming at each other, a very strong emotion, but also a moment where it was not filmmaking. It was really them talking to each other. It was so real. It was very intense.
I love the way you ended the film with the one child, I'm not going to say what he says, but the one child saying what we hear his brothers tell him that he said earlier on. I thought that was brilliant. Alexander, thank you for giving us Never Let Go. It was really quite stellar filmmaking, and I appreciate you giving me your time today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I want to talk about the house and that room that y'all would be in. Were y'all claustrophobic at all?
I'm not claustrophobic. They actually put I know they put me and Percy through a test. Like they put us inside of like this little box and they shut it closed, like, and it was all dark, and like they wanted to see how we reacted. And I'm not claustrophobic.
You're not claustrophobic. You not either.
Sort of. if I know somebody's not coming back, if I know nobody's out there, I get really claustrophobic. I'm like,
that would be the meaning of claustrophobic.
Yeah.
What about you, Halle?
I can't say I'm claustrophobic. No. I mean, I don't want to be locked in a box all by myself either, but I'm no. Like, I can do an MRI and be good.
Well, I can't. I'm half the open thing. I want to talk about the relationship between y'all, and particularly the fact that I have never seen two children carry a film since, and this is way before y'all's time, since Bugsy Malone, Paper Moon, and Stand By Me. I've never seen a child carry a film of this magnitude. So having said all of that, and congratulations to both of you because you were superb. I can't say enough about you.
Thank you.
But having said all of that, how did you all work together to be able to gain Halle's trust as the mom, who's not lovely in this film, and to gain, and Halle, how were you able to gain their trust as being that type of mom? Because we would expect a mom to be more nurturing, and she has moments where we see glimpses of that, for the most part, no.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was important that we cast the right voice, because I knew the work that they would have to do. And so it was being dogged in that and refusing to take less than excellent, right? So we had to search to find them. And then you had to find two boys that looked like they could be in the same family, same age, like, you know, so it was no easy task. But when we found them, I knew, okay, we're going to be okay, because I knew how individually talented they both were. And you're right, I did get to play a different kind of mom. But for me, I had to always root that mom in love. But, you know, love looks different sometimes when you're in a circumstance that's different. Like, what is love and what does love look like? And I got to ask myself that through shooting this movie. But at the end of the day, I knew, as crazy as Mama was, she had love for these boys. And I think we get to see that in the end, that her love was there.
When was the moment for each and every one of you where you felt like you could never let go of each other no matter what?
The minute I met him, I was in love. It's truly. The minute I met these boys, I was like, oh yeah, these are my boys.
Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say that we I was gonna, like, because I thought you meant like when we like would hug each other. I would be like, yeah, there's a lot of times when we would hug and like it would be like just a group hug. A nice family.
The moment I knew I could never let go of AJ, like never lose this connection, was when I first met him. When we were doing a screen test together, and we met and we immediately clicked. Our love for games together, our love for sports, our love for a lot of different things. I knew he's my guy, he's my bro. So that was when I kind of knew, like.
I love that. Oh, y'all are so sweet. Y'all are absolutely precious. I love that so much. I know you've done horror before, but were either one of you guys horror fans going into this?
So I wasn't a horror fan, but I do like I like my adrenaline pumping a lot. Like I like when I'm like, oh, what's about to happen? What's about to happen? So yeah, I'm more of a thriller person than horror.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not a horror or a thriller person normally, but there was something different about this film that was just like, I gotta do this. But I'm not. No.
You're like, no, I'm not that dude. Yeah. Halle, what brought you back to this kind of genre? Because you have done these types of films before.
I don't know. I thought seeing this family, this mom and these two little boys in the woods like this was something I'd never seen before. It was sort of a new take on an old idea, I guess, and I like the idea of the generational trauma. It wasn't just horror, but it's deep complexity and undertones to it, and I thought that was an interesting thing to explore on film.
I want to take this time while I'm ending to thank each and every one of you for your time today. I really appreciate it. I was thoroughly enthralled by the film because, like we said, we're not fans of horror, but we are fans of thrillers. Yes. So I love this. I love the generational trauma. I loved everything about it. And I was really salty about something that happens to you that I'm not going to say on camera because I don't want to ruin it for nobody. But I was really upset. I'm just going to say.
But I loved it.
I bet you did. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right. I intentionally skewed this interview toward the boys because Halle Berry is a legend. Everybody that was going to walk in that room was going to ignore those little boys and go straight for Halle. But the reality of the situation is, in this film, these boys are the star, and Halle Berry is kind of like their sidekick. So no shade to her, but that's the reality of the situation. So again, you guys, you want to check out, I'm just going to recap what we talked about today. You want to check out Never Let Go with Halle Berry, Anthony B. Jenkins, and Percy Daggs IV. The Chicken Sisters is streaming on Hallmark Channel Plus. Emily in Paris and Rebel Ridge are streaming on Netflix right now. Reagan is in theaters. I believe The Substance may be in theaters, and if it's not, it might be coming soon. And of course, Transformers 1, a Paramount joint that is in theaters right now, starring Scarlett Johansson, Brian Tyree Henry, Keegan Michael Key, and more. When I come back next week, I'm going to talk about the Kate Winslet film, Lee. I'll be talking to the entire cast of Resball. I'll be doing a review of The Wild Robot, which I had an opportunity to screen at the TIFF Toronto International Film Festival, which ends today. And I will also be talking about a film called Saturday Night, which I spoke about that I saw at Telluride. And here, let me find the review. Here is the review of that film that I did for the Wrap, Saturday Night, which is coming into theaters. It is produced by Sony Pictures, and that is coming your way really soon. Let's check these comments real quick before I get up out of here. Oh, also, 2 more Emmy winners. I think, 2 more Emmy winners. Alan Cummings won for The Traitors, which is a reality show. Alan Cummings now has an Emmy and a Tony. He won a Tony a long time ago for playing the MC in Cabaret on Broadway. And last week tonight with John Oliver just won a Tony, an Emmy. So the Emmy Awards are going on right now. Let me check these comments. Everybody has a production company. Listen, when you are a person of color and a woman in Hollywood, you have to have your own production company, because if you sat here waiting for somebody to find something to produce to put you in, you would die of starvation from making no money to eat. Just saying. Glad you did that. Seems like a great movie. I'm glad I did it too. I had a really good time. Thank you so much, Sav Productions and Brandon, for popping in and talking to me. You know I love you. And for those of you that will see it on the repeat, I don't love you any less. I know life is lifing and people have things that they need to do. And this has been about an hour. But I know let me just see who won the Emmy real quick. His name is Alex Edelman. I don't know what he won for, but you'll find out soon enough. So I'll be back next week, like I said, with Lee the Wild Robot, Saturday night, and the cast of Resball. I may have some interviews with Lee, not sure, keeping my fingers crossed. I do have interviews with the cast of Saturday night. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell for notifications on the YouTube to subscribe to the channel, because you never know who you might see here. Like today, you saw Halle Berry, you saw Keegan Michael Key, you saw a plethora of people. You never know who you're going to see here. So check in with me and say hello, holla at a sister, talk to me in real time. It's all good. If you are watching this via Twitter, via LinkedIn, via Facebook, via Instagram, via Threads, thank you. Welcome. Glad you tuned in. And I hope that you join me at another time and date. But until then, y'all, a sister got to get on up out of here, because it's time to go. I got to watch the rest of the Emmys. So love, peace, and hair grease. And oh my God, deuces until the next time. Bye.